Alright, this right here is the Roman Empire. It starts with the ascent of Augustus Caesar and ends with the fall of Constantinople in 1453 to the Ottoman Turks. It forms the basis for judicial and civil practices even today. Here I will discuss about the empire, all the way from its founding down to its final partition in 395 AD. Now, in 31 BC, after the Battle of Actium, Augustus Caesar takes the crown. Many people incorrectly refer to Julius Caesar as the first emperor of Rome, but he was only the dictator of the Roman Republic, a position which the Roman Senate was forced to give him. Augustus, however, was granted the title emperor willingly by the Senate. His reign lasted for 17 years, and in that time he managed to reform the judicial practices of the empire, expand the empire further, and carried out vast construction projects like the Pantheon, and secured himself as one of the most famous rulers of Rome, and Rome itself as a great political power. The beginning of his reign also marks the beginning of the Pax Romana, or the Roman peace, lasting for 200 years. He was succeeded by Tiberius, who ruled until 37 AD, who changed little of Augustus's policies but instituted the infamous treason trials and later exiled himself to the island of Capri. He was succeeded by Caligula in 37 AD. Caligula's early reign was commendable by all means, removing the treason trials, etc. But after a murder attempt on him, he began to work to secure his power over Rome by reinstating the treason trials. He was murdered by the Praetorian Guard, the palace guard, in 41 AD and was succeeded by his uncle Claudius, who expanded the Roman Empire into Britannia. He was assassinated by his wife in 54 AD and was succeeded by Nero, who committed suicide while in office. The end of Nero also marks the end of the Julio-Claudian dynasty and began a period of civil unrest called the Year of the Four Emperors, where Rome saw four emperors crowned within a single year. The first of these emperors was Galba, who succeeded the throne in 69 AD and immediately was assassinated by the Praetorian Guard, as he was seen as unfit for the role. Otho took the crown on the very day of Galba's death, and he was expected to make a very good emperor. However, Vitellius, who was a general, wanted power for himself, obviously, and thus began a civil war which concluded with the suicide of Otho. Vitellius was no better than Galba had been, throwing lavish parties and neglecting his duties. The Roman legion thus declared their support for General Vespasian, marched on Rome and murdered Vitellius. The coronation of Vespasian marks the beginning of the Flavian dynasty, which saw economic prosperity and massive infrastructural projects, such as the Flavian Amphitheatre, which was completed by his son Titus and is now more famously known as the Colosseum. Titus's reign saw two major disasters. The first was the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which buried the two cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum in 79 AD, and the second was the Great Fire of Rome in 80 AD. Titus is universally praised for his response to these two disasters. He died in 81 AD and was succeeded by Domitian, his brother, who repaired the damage caused by the Great Fire of Rome and economically improved the empire. Even though he was unpopular within the Roman Senate itself due to his autocratic methods, he was assassinated in 69 AD. Domitian's advisor Nerva took over the empire and began the Nerva-Antonine dynasty, which saw five remarkable and splendid rulers known as the five good emperors of Rome. The first of these emperors was Nerva himself, who reformed agrarian practices and abolished the cruel means by which Domitian had asserted his control. He adopted Marcus Ulpius Trajanus to secure his succession, who would be known commonly as Trajan. Trajan took the throne in 98 AD and only returned to Rome in 99 AD after establishing control in the Rhine. He distributed gifts among the populace of Rome and lessened the taxes on the people. He is also likely responsible for the Alimenta, the institution of public funds to support poor children for which Nerva is given credit. He built roads, bridges, and aqueducts, which still survive throughout the Roman Empire. All this was impressive, but Trajan is mostly known for his military conquests. His first was in Dacia, which he attacked and conquered, providing gold and salt for exploitation. His second campaign was against the Parthians, where he managed to capture Armenia, Upper Mesopotamia, and even the Parthian capital at Ctesiphon. He died in 117 AD and left the empire to his adopted son Hadrian. Under him, the empire reached its territorial height. Hadrian abandoned Trajan's military conquest and instead preferred to maintain stability and protection. He is famous for building Hadrian's Wall, which marked the northernmost extent of the province of Britannia. He rebuilt the Pantheon in Rome and constructed the Temple of Venus and Roma. He adopted Antoninus Pius as his son and successor on the condition that he himself adopt Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus as his sons. Antoninus Pius ascended the throne in 138 AD and is famous for the Antonine Wall, about 161 kilometers from the Hadrian's Wall. He died in 161 AD, and his two adopted sons, Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus, ruled as co-emperors until Verus's death in 169 AD. Marcus Aurelius was a philosopher and wrote the Meditations, a compilation of his thoughts. He waged war against the Parthians who had invaded Syria, as well as against Germania. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, and with him ended the Pax Romana, as well as the five good emperors of Rome. He was succeeded by his son Commodus, who turned out to be a terrible ruler and was strangled to death in 192 AD, ending the Nerva Antonine dynasty. Pertinax, a conspirator against Commodus, then took the throne. Pertinax's rule began the year of the five emperors, where he and four other emperors took the throne in quick succession. This ended in the rise of Septimius Severus to power, beginning with the Severan dynasty in 193 AD. Septimius Severus defeated the Parthians, campaigned in Africa and Britain, which would later lead to Rome's financial problems. He died in 211 AD and was succeeded by his two sons, Caracalla, whatever, and Geta, who ruled as co-emperors until Geta's murder by Caracalla. Caracalla himself ruled till 217 AD until he was assassinated by his guard. He expanded the citizenship of Rome to all free men within the empire. This was done only to increase the wealth of the empire, since now it had more people to collect taxes from. Logic. The Severan dynasty continued until 235 AD with the assassination of Alexander Severus, beginning the crisis of the 3rd century. The crisis of the 3rd century saw the Roman Empire split into three different empires: the Gallic Empire, the Palmyrene Empire, and the Roman Empire, lasting from 235 AD to 284 AD, characterized by the rise and fall of 20 barracks emperors, who were elevated to position with the support of the army. These were in order: Maximinus Thrax, Gordian I and Gordian II, Balbinus and Pupienus, Gordian III, Philip the Arab and Philip II, Decius, Aemilianus, Valerian and Gallienus, Claudius Gothicus, Quintillus, and finally Aurelian, who despite reuniting the empire was assassinated by his commanders. After this, Tacitus, Florianus, Probus, Carus, Numerian, and Carinus would all rule over different parts of the empire. In the end, Diocletian managed to reunite the empire, finally, and pushed forward the reforms proposed by Aurelian. Even after this, he saw that his empire was too big to manage and so split it into the Western and Eastern Roman Empire. In 285 AD, raising one of his officers, Maximian, to the position of co-emperor. He retired from power in 305 AD and died in 311 AD. After his death, Constantine and Maxentius once again started a civil war, which resulted in Constantine ascending the throne in 312 AD. Constantine believed that Christ himself was responsible for his victory, and so mandated religious tolerance throughout the empire, specifically towards Christianity. He also founded a new city on the ruins of the old Byzantium and named it New Rome, which came to be known as Constantinople. After his death in 337 AD, his sons Constantius, Constans, and Constantine plunged the empire into another civil war, which saw the death of Constantine and Constans. Constantius died after naming Julian as his successor. Julian ruled for only 2 years, but is still well known as Rome's last pagan emperor, and is called Julian the Apostate. He barred Christians from influential positions as well as the army. He died in a campaign against the Persians in 363 AD. After a brief rule of Emperor Jovian, who reinstated Christianity's position in the empire, the crown fell to Theodosius I. Theodosius I is also known as Theodosius the Great because he outlawed pagan worship and made Christianity the official religion of the empire, as well as defeated the Goths. It was he who split the Roman Empire for the last time in 395 AD between his sons Honorius and Arcadius, and the Roman Empire would never again reunite, thus ending a 400-year-old, somewhat united Roman Empire. The West would quickly fall to barbarian invasions, but the East stood strong until 1453, when it was invaded by the Ottomans.